Good afternoon, y'all. This is Christian White, the One Day at a Time Dad from Single Cell to Single Dad. I'm starting a new project called Listening to Learn, where I'm traveling around meeting with people from all walks of life, specifically for the purposes of just hearing their stories. So many have thought that we only understand someone by the present decision that they make, when the reality is these decisions are made usually long before we even get to that point. So I'll let this man introduce himself. He's a childhood friend. I'm lucky enough to still have each other in our lives, so to speak, on many levels. So please introduce yourself.
How you guys doing? My name is Charles Jacobs. Most of the people in the hood know me as Turtle. You know, me and Chris go way back as longtime friends. You know, we different in so many ways, but alike in so many. I think so many more. We're both cut from the same cloth. That we're both in that process of changing our lives, and just as bad as we were, just as great as we're gonna be. You know what I mean? And I'm here to just share this interview and with my buddy here, man. You know what I mean?
Appreciate it. So let me ask, what are some of your earliest memories? Like how you grew up, who was around you, how your life was lived. What's like, start from the beginning.
Far back as I can remember, you know, like growing up. I remember growing up in, you know, like a tight family, having my mother there, having my stepdad there, my sister's dad, having an older brother, having a younger sister. You know, we were all a little tight family, man. There was a lot of things we didn't have, but we had each other. We grew up with, my granddad was a reverend, so we grew up in a religious background. We was involved in the church. You know, and right was installed in us from early. It was installed for me early. You know, we had family like uncles and aunts. But you know, just that family growing up, that meant everything to me. As I got a little bit older, I started being aware of different types of families in my community. You know, there were some families that were tighter than mine, and there was a lot of families that were looser than mine. Some kids had dads, some kids didn't have dads. Some kids had moms, some kids didn't have moms. And the different statuses, like some moms were there but they weren't there. Some dads were there but they weren't there. Some of my friends' moms were like addicts, alcoholics, hustlers, prostitutes. You know, and I grew up thinking, you know, like the things that I didn't have were because we didn't have the finances. But I was rich in so many different ways. My mother was a religious in-house mom. She wasn't a hustler. She didn't have hustle. She didn't sell drugs. She wasn't an alcoholic. She didn't run the streets. She was a mom. She did the best she could do on her fixed income. That's why we had what we had. Then as I got a little bit older, I started realizing that some of my friends had certain things because their parents were hustlers, whether they were drug dealers, you know. So it kind of made me, you know, appreciate what I had, but I didn't get appreciated that until a little bit earlier. You know, things being like, when I was young, I might have wanted certain things like Nintendos. My mother couldn't afford a Nintendo, you know, but all my friends whose parents were hustlers had Nintendos and all the games. You know what I mean? But one thing I had that they didn't have was that connection with my mom. You know what I mean? Back then I couldn't really see it because it was like, that don't mean nothing. I want a Nintendo. You know? But I would by no means trade anything I had for anything I wanted. You know what I mean?
So did you say forget the Nintendo and go with your mother's love?
Yeah, absolutely, man, because my mother's love taught me everything. I mean, that was everything. You know what I mean? Like, my mother's love was everything, man.
So let me ask this: with the way your mom treated you, how would you define love?
Unconditional, for one. Understanding. Never judgmental. Did I say understanding? I think I
Yes.
did because she was very understanding. And it was just my mother's love was like nothing I ever imagined. And since we're on like the mother's love, this is like, you know, being young, man. My life was pretty much easy when my mother was around and I had that love because I felt like I didn't really have to do much because she's gonna accomplish everything for me because she loves me, she understands me. You know, I lost my mother at a young age too, and you know, everything that I kind of believed in and everything that I was taught to learn about like decision making and like morals and all that stuff. I just kind of, it just didn't mean nothing to me no more. Like, I can remember far back playing high school football, being great at it, and playing high school basketball and being great at it. And just knowing, like, I don't want to do this shit no more that my mother's dead. Like, I don't have nobody to say, this is for you. You know, like this, because that's all I ever wanted to do was just give her back something for all the love that she gave me that was unconditional and understanding. I wanted to make it to the NBA or the NFL and just like, Mom, here's your house, here's your Mercedes, here's your poodles, here's your fur coats. You know what I mean? Like, you don't never need for nothing. I'm here for you. The way you understood and you cared and loved for me, this is the least I can do for you. So when I lost my mother, it was more of a sense like, now you don't have your mother. It was like, okay, now I got to substitute that same love because I want that love. You know what I mean? And that's how I kind of met the Christian, because it was like I got connected with the drug dealers, the killers, the gangsters, the pimps. And unconditionally, they showed me a love that wasn't understanding and overwhelming and unconditional like my mother's, but it was a love like I couldn't find nowhere else. Everything else that was around me was fake. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be in competition, but I just wanted to be loved. I just wanted to be with the homies that, you know what I mean? Like, someone who cared about me as much as I cared about them. So I got into this lifestyle of this street life because it showed me love. It showed me understanding. And even in the sense where, like, it's so easy for I can see how kids can turn to it. There's no wins in it. Like, there's no wins. There's nothing that's going to say, oh, if you join us, we're going to give you that. Nobody joins gangs and shit like that in that street life for the wins. You join that for the love, man. You join that because you want the acceptance of something. You want to feel like a brotherhood, a fellowship. You know what I mean? Like, because I didn't have, I was lacking. I was missing something in my life that came from my mother, because my mother was there from day one to the day she was gone. Every day, no matter what, she could be mad at me in the daytime, but at nighttime, I knew she still loved me. Even when she yelled at me and she beat me, she still loved me. It's kind of the same thing with your homie. You might be going through it with your homie right now. Y'all might fall out because y'all might over the same girl or over a few dollars here and there, you know, but at the end of the day, that's your homie. You ain't gonna wish no bad on him. If he's your real homie, you ain't gonna do no bad on him, and you're gonna get past it. You know what I mean? And that's just kind of how I grew up with a certain love of my sandbox homies. You know what I mean? Like, it was the same thing I was looking for. Like, I just wanted that love and that acceptance. I didn't care about that we were a little bit different. That, you know what I mean? That maybe if he had more money or he had more money or he had this and I didn't have that. I didn't care, because ultimately we all loved each other because we were all there looking for the same thing. Someone to love with, someone to ride with. Like, this is our team. It's us, never them. You know, like, we love each other. You know what I mean? So that kind of like substituted for my mother's love, my mother's being gone and her passing. I don't know.
So, like, how long in between your mom passing did you kind of, what's the time frame after your mom passed to when you began being in the streets or having serious thoughts of being in the streets?
Well, I always camped with the streets before my mother died. You know, and she made ultimate steps to keep me away from the streets. I remember being shot at an early age. At the age of 16, and she moved me out of my neighborhood. Like, this is not for you. Moved me out into the suburbs. And I was like, okay, this is cool. Life's different. You know what I mean? But as soon as we moved out to the suburbs, you know what I mean? Like, I got into prep school. I was playing football out in Maine. You know, that's right after my mother died, and then the support system wasn't there no more. It was like I had a sister at home. I had a brother who kind of moved out the home. You know, I never really had a dad, and my stepdad kind of went AWOL after my mother died. And it was like the support system went down. And when I looked around, all I had was my homies. They was there. You know what I mean? Like, I can count on them to have my back. You know what I mean? Like, if I needed a couch to sleep on, or if I needed a place to just sit still, I can go talk to one of their moms or eat some leftovers. You know what I mean? It was just like a support system that I didn't have. My support system that was supposed to be there wasn't there. But the hood and, like, the streets, that was always there, because the streets said, listen, man, if you come hang in the streets, commit a little bit of crime, or if you move this pack from one of the big homies, you're gonna have a few dollars. There's your food. You know what I mean? If you hang with us and you got my back like I got yours, nobody's gonna mess with you. You know what I mean? That's the gang unit. That's the gang. That's the gang. That's the unity amongst the gang. Mm-hmm. And you know what I mean? So it's like everything was there. My support system was within the streets and the gang, because everything I needed was there. If I needed a way to find some money, it was there. If I needed protection, it was there. If I needed some love, it was there. You know what I mean? It was just everything I needed was there, because my support system that I had wasn't there. My mother was my all-in-one support system from the beginning. And when she wasn't there, you know, I tried to substitute and try to hold together a support system. but it was not like my motherly love. You know what I mean? So I started substituting until I found something that fit, and that was the street life. That's when it was like, okay, check it, I'm all in now.
What were some of those substitutions?
Substitutions could be like selling drugs. That was my biggest thing. That was always my trouble because that was always my way out. As long as I know I had a pack to move, I always figured like I was gonna have a place to stay.
I'm glad you said that.
I was gonna have some, you know, whether it was me paying an addictive person to sleep on their couch, or was it me being presentable to be able to chick's female enough to her be like, oh, I like him. Now I'm staying at her house because now I can bring a little groceries in. I can give her a little bit of weed. I can help her with her bills because I'm moving a pack. I can participate. You see what I'm saying? Or, you know what I mean? Like, you know, certain shit, man. Certain shit you just connect to, man. You know what I mean? Some of the also substitute shit was like the guns. The guns always got me in trouble too, man, because I just wasn't going for no one hurting me. I wasn't going for no one hurting me. Or when I started getting involved and I started having people depend on me, I damn sure wasn't going to let nobody put me in a position where I wasn't going to take care of mine. So that was a substitute that kind of pushed me into the streets. And the gang, you know what I mean? I never wanted nobody to hurt my homies because I didn't want nobody to hurt me. And if they felt the same way I felt, then we was okay. You know what I mean? Like, no. I feel like you can't do nothing to him. Like, in a sense, in so many ways, he's made. You can't touch him. You can't do nothing to him. Not only because he's my friend, but because he's a good guy. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, those substitutes. Excuse me. Those substitutes, man, came into play real early. We took those serious. Like, that was almost like ways we live by. You know what I mean?
What was like So I'm 39. How old are you now?
42.
42. And when we grew up, you know, it was a little bit. What was the environment like? Like in terms of how poverty looked, how the drug game was different. What was the environment like when you first began in the drug game?
Well, the drug game, when I first came into the drug game, when I first realized the drug game was a drug game, was, you know, I had these friends, and I ain't gonna mention their names. Right before I moved up Humboldt Ave, I used to live in the Pacific area where it was known for selling weed. And they used to sell weed in the manila envelopes, the old Globe Santa envelopes. So my man's moms used to take us to go buy weed. She used to go buy weed from her weed man, and they would always have this secret handshake, and they would talk about the most silliest of conversations while they're doing this conversation, kind of throw us off. My buddy was totally oblivious to what was going on, and I'm like, she's buying that stuff I'm going to smell in a few minutes going through the hallway, you know, when the doors close, you know what I mean? So I kind of always had an eye for this shit, man, you know what I mean? Like I always, so then I moved up into my neighborhood, Humboldt, you know what I mean? I'm an old Humboldt Raider. I consider myself a veteran or OG. It was more exposed, it wasn't no secrecy, it was just like Homestead in the 80s, Humboldt in the 80s when prostitutes would walk up and down the yellow lines of the two-way traffic, and every other street or every other house or door, there was transactions going on in broad daylight. You know what I mean? People were running up to cars, broad daylight, man. It was just like The Walking Dead. It was just like, this was like how they got on the wire. What's that, the New Amsterdam? It was just...
The Amsterdam,
yeah. It was just wide open. Like, it's just okay, it's legal up here. I remember getting my first 10-pack, moving it for OG, and it was just like, okay, $75 is yours. It's his. $25 was mine.
A 10-pack of what?
10 packs of crack rocks. They were like $10 pieces.
Yeah.
You had to sell 10 of them for $10 a piece to make $100. You had to give them $75. You kept $25. It was like a 75-25%. And as you graduated, it was 70-30, and you sell enough money to get your 8-ball money. But the way it came out here was, the way it works out there was all like politics. You couldn't just come from out of nowhere and start selling drugs. You either had to be part of the gang to get accepted into this, or you had to work for somebody that was out there for you to be out there, because the gang wasn't just letting anybody come from anybody eating off these are our profits. This is our shit. This is what we bang for. For this right here, this territory is ours. So we're not just gonna let outsiders come in here and take ours and leave. You had to be either part of the gang or you had to work for the gang. So basically what it was is, it got to a point where it started changing. Once everybody started getting their own little pack and started coming out there, you know, people try to incorporate people, try to bring people into the gang, and people thought it was okay to work out there. Then the drug market had changed a little bit, you know what I mean? Along with the drugs came the police and the heat, and it just wasn't built for everybody. Then you had other gangs wanting in on what we had, our territory, because it was profitable, it was fruitful. So what would happen was, other gangs we would get in gang wars, and then you'd have some of the gang members that weren't drug dealers. They would go in and put in work. They would go do missions on other neighborhoods and not tell people out there. They would go do crime, and the crime would come back, and the victims would be the drug dealers because the drug market started switching. It was drug dealers and it was gang members. And some of the drug dealers were gang members, and some of the gang members were drug dealers, but not all. So sometimes the gang members would go do missions, and the repercussions would come back, and they'd shoot somebody, be looking for somebody, but the gang members would be gone because they knew the crime was committed. And then the drug dealers used to have to catch the wrath of it. So then eventually those drug dealers, if they wanted to keep their profits fruitful, they either had to be like, listen, I'm with the gang now. You know what I mean? I got to put in some work to be out here. So now it was, you just couldn't be a drug dealer to be out there, but the drug dealers just had it so sweet because they had drugs, they had money. But now you got to put in work to get money around here now because it's just not for everybody. Everybody's just not going to be out here just selling drugs. So then it became, listen, if you wasn't putting in work, you wasn't getting no money out
So
here.
the culture changed.
The culture changed.
That's-
So it wasn't
that's a-
just no more
that's a
drug
real-
dealer.
that's a really
It was drug
interesting-
dealer slash
I
gangster.
didn't think about that. That's a good
what I
point.
mean?
That's a really, really good point.
And I remember a couple of times, a couple of the old heads just telling us, man, like, yo, listen, if you don't put in no work, you can't be out here. This is for us. So the gang members overseeded the drug dealers. Their rule was what you would call more, I don't want to say potent, but it overruled. Their word overruled the drug dealers' word. It was just like, yo, you got to put in work to be out here. You know what I mean? And they showed you in so many ways that it had to be true. Like, you're not just going to be a drug dealer out here getting money while I'm getting shot at, making it okay for you to be out here. Nah, so, either that or you just became one of them bitch-ass drug dealers that had to feed the gangsters, because by all means, the gangsters was going to eat.
And throughout all this time, did you still feel the love of the support system?
I did feel the love of the support system because the support system wasn't so much standing and leading me wrong. They was in there to make the best out of me. You know what I mean? Like they always had, like I can remember, man, coming home from prep school before I really got too deep into the shit on vacations. And I had a few friends that would just be like, yo, man, ask me how my sport life went. Like, yo, hey, what you doing, man? And then they would catch me out the corner of their eyes trying to move a little package to get a little bit of money to survive because I never had too much of a support system when I was in school. I never had nobody sending me money to buy things like toothpaste and deodorant and stuff like that. And that wasn't provided. That shit you got to provide on your own. When you don't have no income, ain't nothing coming in. You know what I mean? So sometimes I would hit home and I'd get these little packages and I make me like a little $30, $40, $50 to go to school with, which you might not think is enough, but all I ever wanted was deodorant and soap and toothpaste. I didn't want to go out to school to be the man. Like, I got tons of drug money. Look at this, I got that. I just wanted to be able to not stink and be up in these people's face. So I might make me a little $20, $30. And then they'd catch me, the support system, the OGs, like, yo, what the fuck is you doing, man? You got a lot on the line. I'm like, I'm just trying to make some money to get this and that. And they would literally come up to me and be like, yo, here's $100. Don't let me catch you back out here. Here's $50. Go catch a movie, motherfucker, but get off the block. You know what I mean? Get the fuck out of here. This ain't for you. Like, you might be the first motherfucker to make it to the NFL from the hood. You know what I mean? Like, get the fuck out of here, man. Take this money and get out of here. And it was all good. But by that time, I still had the love of the Lord from the hood because it was just like the excitement. I'm like, damn, the hood's going to always be here for me no matter what. I can leave. I can come back. They're going to accept me for who I am. You know what I mean? As long as I don't break certain codes and certain rules, I'm going to be okay. Like, the hood's going to accept me. You know what I mean? Like, no matter how big I get or how small I get, as long as I stay into that code right there, I'm okay. You know what I mean? And that was the support system I was like, and that was the unconditional love that my mother used to show me. No matter what, you're still going to be my son. You know what I mean? Whether you're good in school, whether you're bad in school, whether I have to discipline you, whether you're great, you're going to be my son. And that's what the hood kind of showed me. That was the substitution I was looking for. So by that point, a couple of things just wasn't working out in prep school, and I was just like, man, fuck this. But I'll be the first one to tell you that was the worst mistake I ever made in my life after being recruited by so many schools, like Syracuse, Temple, Texas A&M, just so many schools for football, man. You know what I mean? Like, good rides, Mississippi State, just dropping out. Man, like, man, fuck this. I'm going back to the hood. Because by then, like, I didn't care about the football because I was only doing that shit to be like, here, Mom, here's your house, here's your car, this is what I want to give back to you. I didn't give a fuck about that. I didn't want to go up there and be running up and down, sweating. That was too much work. It was easy just to sell drugs. It was easy to sell drugs. It was promising, and my support system was existed right there. I don't want to be in Mississippi or Syracuse or Philly going to school for all that bullshit when the support system was right here on Humboldt Ave. Like, this is all I need. This is my homies. This is where the money's coming in. You know what I mean? They don't violate us here. This is just my safe zone. This is like, I didn't want nothing else. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I totally get that. How long did that go on for?
Once again, we went to a different culture change. You know what I mean? The culture change. You know, you lose a lot of good friends. You mean you start seeing friends dying. Yeah, I got in hell. My best friend died in my hands, man. I actually kicked the church door open so he can die in the church and not on the street. You know, and you start seeing a lot of that shit, and you start seeing like, damn. You know, like the culture changes, man, because you know, in a different era, like the people that's supposed to ride or the people that's supposed to be your friends don't really exist no more. You know what I mean? Like people be having ulterior motives. People don't. It's not the same kind of love like when I got lured in. It's like the love is, I'm gonna love you as long as I can do something for you. I mean, as long as you can do something for me, as long as you can benefit off of me. And you know, just after a while, certain things just start opening your eyes, man. You know, friends don't really be friends no more. You know what I mean? Certain friends, like the certain friends that I choose to be around on daily basis are good friends. You know what I mean? Like people that I get around with. But the gang started breaking up into different ciphers where they would only do for their cipher instead of all the one. We were all one gang. You know what I mean? It was just like you have a fraction over here, you have a fraction over here, you have a fraction over here. And this fraction might be better than that fraction, so they don't really fuck with them. And if this fraction fuck with that fraction, we didn't fuck with them.
What do you mean by better?
Better, like they might be more prosperous, they might have a bigger drug package, or they might have more guns or better cars. They might be a little bit older, might have the better clientele. When I came into it, the only people that ate first was the OGs. They was out there first. I might have to stand out there on the corner for about 5-6 hours before I saw one $10 play because, you know, by right, all the OGs had to get theirs first. So once they hit their quota and they left for the day, then it was for like the scavengers. We got ours, but that was respectable because this is their shit. We're just coming in on it. You know what I mean? And it came to a point where I was one of the top feeders. You know what I mean? Like, y'all not gonna get yours before I get mines. But after a while, it's not even just them telling you that. It's the clientele. They're like, I'm here to see this person. You know what I mean? Because they built that clientele up. So in due time, if you write and you stick to the code, you'll have that. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna have that. And you know, just over a while, it just started changing, man. It was just like no loyalty amongst the gang, man. You know what I mean? Different things incorporated into the gang. They found ways to divide and conquer us. You know, I ain't got to put no labels on none of this shit. You know what I mean? You just see it for yourself. But the gang stopped breaking apart, you know what I mean? Before they can even do it, meaning they being like the police and the government, before they can break up our gangs and stuff, we broke it up amongst ourselves because certain people in the gang just lost the loyalty amongst each other. That love wasn't conditional no more. I mean, what was conditional wasn't unconditional. Like, people just felt like, listen, you know what I mean? Like, I don't really rock with them because they don't got as much drugs as we got, or he doesn't put in as much work as he put in. So I just want to take the shooters are going to come with me. You can have the suckers and the scrams, they're going to hang with you. Or it was just that way, like the gang was broken up, and now it was broken up into sections. So that was divide and conquer. So it was easy for the people to just come in and just break it apart. We weren't solid no more.
Did you see yourself as either more of a drug dealer or more of a gun guy, or like how did you see your? Because I guess what I want to get into is how did you, when you talk about going from like the bottom to being one of the top feeders, the higher you go, do you feel more love in your support system? Is there more problems that comes with it? Like throughout this whole time, you still feel like you're amongst love.
Yeah. Now, see, I kind of feel like, I know this sounds crazy, but I kind of feel like I made my own lane because I was neither more of a shooter or no more of a drug dealer. I was just a neutral fucking kid. Look at me. I was a neutral, natural fucking kid just looking for love. I didn't want to be the big drug dealer. I didn't want to be the big gangster. I just wanted to be the kid that just, these are my friends. They do what they do. I do some of it too. I just want to be loved unconditional. It wasn't more of I was a big drug dealer, I was a big gangster. I was neither one of any of them shits. I'll be the first to tell you, I was just a kid that just wanted to be loved. These were my homies. I loved them. They loved me back. I got their back. They got mine. Nobody's going to do nothing to nobody. And if they need me, I'm there for them. It was a support system. That support system was always there. The more I grew up into that lane, the more my people's accepted me for who I was. I wasn't somebody who was a drug dealer trying to act like a gangster, because if you're a gangster and they call you for some gangster shit and you don't do that gangster shit, it shows. But if you're acting like a big drug dealer, and when it's time to do drug dealer shit, like bail people out and you can't produce, then it shows. So I just always want to be myself. Just always want to be, man, just that average little kid that grew up in the hood. This is my resources around me. These are my friends. This is who I'm accustomed with. The support system was always there. And I got people that I can call on for anything still now these days. I mean, like, Lord forbid I wouldn't have somebody do something for me I wouldn't do for myself. You know what I mean? First and foremost. But I still know who the shooters are. I still know who the drug dealers are. But at the end of the day, if I feel like I know where I stand. I'm just an average kid. I'm still looking for that support system. Through my friends, that support system might just be like, hey man, every once in a while, what I look through for my support system now is just the call and just like the conversation I have with Chris. We talk and I ask him for advice for stuff. He's much younger. He's a lot wiser in ways, but his support is appreciated. His advice is appreciated, and I still call him. I still call some of the drug dealers. I still call some of the gangsters, and I'm just like, hey man, need some advice on certain situations. They might just be like, yo man, that's not you no more. Let that shit go. Or why? Why do you even care? Why are you getting involved? That shit ain't got nothing to do with you. And I sit there and think about it. I'm like, yo, that motherfucker's absolutely right, man. That's a support system. That's the way a kid would talk to maybe his dad or his older brother or his friend. You know what I mean? It's just that advice alone. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So, are you a father?
I'm a father of 5.
A father of 5. When was your youngest born?
My youngest was
Sorry, when was your oldest born?
My
Yes.
oldest was born in 1998. That's my baby girl, man. She my oldest, but she my baby girl. She's stubborn like her mother, but she's amazing. Now, when I first had my daughter, I was in the midst of doing a lot of wild shit. I think the world is a better place now that God gave me a daughter to just say, hey, listen, calm your ass down. This is what you got to work with. Because I was on the verge of going anyway. I was involved in a lot of shit back in the 90s. You know, as we get older, we get wiser. But I think 98 was when I was around my dumbest of times. 98 was just wild. I was coming off of my first adult male incarceration. I just came home and I met her mother, and her mother was just like, great. I was in the process of going to community college when
How old were you in 98?
I was 98. I was 22.
Okay.
I was 22 years old. I had my daughter when I was 21. It was a process for me because I just came home from my first incarceration, and I was just like, this is gonna do two things. It's either gonna make me get smart or it's gonna get stupid. But I was doing some smart things, but I was still acting stupid. You know what I mean? Like a lot of things could have caught up to me. You know what I mean? I just run around here with no purpose. But my daughter gave me purpose. She was like, yo, every time I would look at her, I'm like, I gotta do this. I gotta do this, or I gotta do this a lot smarter or a lot better because you have a child now. It's just not like thinking of yourself and just like, oh, okay, fuck it. If I go to jail, I get caught, I just go to jail. But if I get caught and go to jail, who's gonna protect her? You know what I mean? Like, who's gonna provide for her? And I never even wanted. I was always scared to have kids. I was always scared to have kids because I'm like, damn, you know, I never really had that co-parenting existence in my life. You know, I always had my mother and I always had my stepdad. My stepdad played his part, but he played his part. When it came time for me to have my own child, it was just like a big step for me. It was just like, hey, man, you could do this. You know what I mean? Like, you can do this. It's not hard. You just have to do it. You know, kids don't come with instructions. And it's a trial and error thing. And if you try something, you mess it up, you get it right, you learn from it, and then you get it right, and you just do better the next time. And then after that, it's gradual steps, and then it just becomes better and better and better. You know what I mean? It's not easy, but after my daughter, 2 years later, came my son. Then I thought I was done. I was like, wow, man, I got a daughter and a son. You know what I mean? And it was great. My son's life became a lot easier for him than it was for my daughter's life because I was already in parent mode. You know, I was already knowing that there were certain things that I had to do, you know, certain things they expect. And then there was my other daughter, then my other son. Then with my baby girl, when the time came for my baby girl, I was fucked because I was all out of parenting. Now, she parents me. She just lets me know how it's going to be. She's like, yeah. And it's that way, you know what I mean? After a while, you find one that breaks you, and it just makes you just be like, damn, well, I get it, man. So far as, you know, like, what I was looking for in the street, I'm going to give that to my kids so they don't have to go look for that in the street. That's how I give back and try to keep them away from the street is by giving them that unconditional love and understanding, giving them that.
So what does support? So you have the mom with the support of your mom.
Yeah.
So she passed, and then you basically, in a way, I look at it kind of like you went and found a support system that matched her efforts. Substituted.
Yeah.
And so then you start having children. Was the support system different for each child as you were growing yourself?
Explain that thoroughly.
Okay, so when you have your oldest daughter,
Yep.
It's at a moment in your life where you're kind of at your worst in terms of what the consequences could be for whatever you're involved in.
Yes.
So there's many opportunities to be a father. At the same time, there's many opportunities to be sort of a real nigga.
Right.
So the support that you showed her then, now you have another child.
Right.
But so are you gradually leaving the street scene? Are you still involved with everything?
I'm still involved to a certain extent of how far I want to go, because I feel like now I know what I escaped, and the shit that I got away in my time, you kids will probably never get away in your time. Trust me. Just like the laws just get stricter. They don't get more lenient. So I knew I had a lot to lose. And once I had a son, for a girl, I felt like it would have been a lot more easier for her, although it would be hard. But for my son, I prayed for him, man, because I'm just like, man, like y'all see what goes on here, how they get treated through law enforcement, how they get treated out here in the streets. It's not easy for a male. You know what I mean? And, so I started withdrawing, certain associations and certain behaviors, just because I felt like it's just not, I don't want to be a part of it, and I don't want my kids to see me be a part of it. A lot of things I kept from my kids until they were old enough to understand.
Now, is that to say, remember, so when you were telling me the story on Humble, where like one of the OGs would be like, oh, look at Charlie, he just scored those touchdowns, yeah. Mm-hmm. But then they see you out the corner of their eye and they're like, look at Turtle over there. Yeah. So, I mean, do you think you hid it from your children, or they just didn't see as much as they could have?
I mean, I did my best with trying to do both of them. I tried not to let them see as much, and I tried to hide it from them. But when they started getting older, like it's my daughter, she got older, because that's like my best friend. So when she started getting older, there's nothing I don't tell her. She's aware of all my behaviors, all my actions, all my habits, everything.
Does she tell you to stop?
She doesn't judge me. She shows me she doesn't appreciate it and she doesn't approve of it. Like her silence or the way her attitude, the way she sasses me, it speaks for itself. Understood. She gives me the respect of like, you're still my dad. You know what I mean? This I don't accept this. This I don't like it. Or she just go, and I know it just frustrates her, but she's biting her tongue.
So okay, so let's say you were in your daughter's shoes, and you tell her a situation like, "Look, I just want you to know I did something that could have got me arrested. Whatever it may be." Mm-hmm. And she goes, "What does that mean? What does it mean from her side of it?"
From her side of it, not to put words in her own mouth.
Yes.
For her, it could just be like you know better, or like you're being silly. Like why would you put yourself in that situation? You know what I mean? Like it's more of like I'm getting tired. Like how my mother, I'm getting tired of you. I'm getting tired of this shit. Like her silence or her huffing and puffing is a way of just saying like, but you know better.
What is so? I like I have a son, and like I one day I noticed he was singing the song that I always sing, and I didn't even I wasn't aware that he was around when I was playing this song, listening to it, whatever the case may be. And like he just started singing it one day, and I'm like, well, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, you sing this all the time. And like it threw me off, but it showed me how much he paid attention.
Yeah.
And would you say your older daughter knows the consequences of your actions?
Yes.
In terms of how it can affect her?
Yes. Yep. Because my I've done so many bids and so many incarcerations, not to put a number on them. Um, yeah, I remember my first time going to jail. My daughter was crawling, and when I came home, I went to jail for a shooting case actually. And I remember coming home, and my daughter started walking. She was actually running, and I was like, "Fuck, man," you know what I mean? And her mother wouldn't bring her up to the jail because at the time I was in National Street Jail when they had the glass walls. And my daughter was like, that was my roadie, man. That was my homie. So we would always, I could never be in a situation and see her trying to get through that glass. You know what I mean? And she couldn't understand. She was so young, she wouldn't understand why I'm on the other side of this glass and she can't hug me. She can't climb up on me and sit on my face. So, I didn't get to see her during my incarceration, which was months. And then when I came home, she was running. There'd be times I'd put her on the voice and hear her cool, and she'd be trying to talk and be giggling. But there's nothing like seeing them crawl, crawling on all fours. And then when you're coming home, you walk through that door and they run over to you. And you're like, oh, shit. It was time I couldn't get back. So my daughter's been there from so many of my incarcerations and detainments where, like, it takes a part of her away, too, because she shares that burden. She's just like, damn. She's wondering if I'm okay. She's just like, damn. You know what I mean? She know I've been through it. There's been years of my incarceration I never got to speak to my kids. Just due to what I was going through with their parents. So my daughter now sees my life change in so many ways. Like, she doesn't want that for me. She doesn't want me around no activity or negativity that's going to put me in a situation where she has to stress herself or worry about if I'm going to be okay. You know what I mean? If somebody treating me okay. If, you know what I mean? Like, if I'm eating well, if I'm healthy. She just feels I'm too old for this shit. And that's what I love about my daughter, because we have that relationship. She kind of reminds me of my big sister. You know what I mean? She's my daughter.
Is there something that one of your kids have said to you, either while you were incarcerated or when you were home, that has never left you? Like something they specifically said that, like, I guess just touched you, just like, I guess made you feel a certain way?
I guess it's my son telling me he misses me, man. You know what I mean? I remember my son being about 12 years old, and I already having half his life being incarcerated. You know what I mean? I remember a time when not all of them were incarcerated, a lot of them were being detained. I remember by the time he was 12, I can literally count what I did for 3 birthdays out of his life. Because of the other 9 birthdays, I was either incarcerated or detained. So when he was 12 years old, I could sit there and say, listen, I remember 3 birthdays out of 12 years of your life that we actually did something. Not that I was out on the street and just didn't do nothing, but because I was behind the walls in custody. Couldn't do nothing for 9 of his 12 birthdays. And I remember that last birthday I was celebrating. He was like, damn, Dad, I miss this. You know what I mean? I miss this. Because we really didn't do nothing. I mean, there was times I always had ways to make it up to him when I got home. But it was just not the same. That on his birthday, he know that he's going to get with his dad and go do something. He was going to have some type of fun. He was going to have some giggles throughout the day. He had some jokes coming his way.
And all this had nothing to do with money.
And all this had nothing to do with money. Just the presence. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just the presence of being there. That's what he missed. You know what I mean? Like, because, his mom's had all, she always found a way to provide for him. She always got him everything he wanted. If he wanted video games, if he wanted sneakers, if he wanted bikes, he always had that. She always was a great provider as far as that go. I can't take that from her. She found ways to make it happen for him. Her baby boy got everything he wanted. But there was one thing she couldn't give him, you know what I mean? Being there with his dad. That kind of always stuck to me, you know what I mean? And I remember briefly after that, just kind of like, fuck this jail shit. This shit's corny, man. You know what I mean? Jail's punishment to me nowadays. It's not the time. It's just the people I end up doing it with. It's just like, it's not worth it no more. You know what I mean? So that being alone, like being in jail and being around so many people that I'm not comfortable with is enough alone to just be like, I don't want to do this shit no more. You know what I mean? I'd rather go work a fucking job. I'd rather go to school, try to better myself than actually go fucking sit through that shit there. That shit's terrible. That's just terrible. That shit's so fucking whack, dude. Like, before you actually think I used to go to jail, I used to be like, oh shit, the homies is here. Like, yo, this
terrible.
Is, man, what the fuck? This is punishment? You know what I mean? Like, we here. You know what I mean? We gangbanging in here. We making moves in here. This ain't that bad. You know what I mean? Now I'm sitting around a bunch of fucking losers, and it's just like, serious? Like, yo, I hope these fucking correctional officers don't think I'm like one of them, because they better not treat me like how they treat them. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I'm gonna define my difference right here and right now. Let me go up and introduce myself. Hey man, listen, I'm Charlie Jacobs, I'm Turtle, I'm Humboldt. You know what I mean? Like, I'm different from these dudes, so I'm gonna let you catch your wreck, but just don't talk to me like how you talk to them. And I ain't gonna care how you treat them, but just make sure you treat me a little different. You know what I mean? Like, 'cause I'm not one of them, man. You know what I mean? I'm just a motherfucker that made his mistakes here to pay my debt to society. You know what I mean? But don't talk to me like how you talk to them. It's gonna be smooth for us. And we get that understanding. Like, I just shared something on Facebook the other day. I bumped into a correctional officer in my school. This dude was on the IPS. He was the IPS.
What is that?
IPS is the inner perimeter security. Those are the police that police the prison. These are the motherfuckers that take your DNA, that turn on your phone, that do all the investigations in there. The people that STG you. STG is a security threat group. If you're part of a gang or if you're something that they need to be aware of, you go on this list and they're like, yo, listen, we keep an eye on that motherfucker. He's a security threat group. He's either a gang member, he's gonna be either cause a problem, he's either an impact player, he's one or the other. Just keep an eye on him. You know what I mean? He's special. So, you know, I bumped into him and he kept looking at me, and I knew he didn't know who I was. He knew who I was, but I couldn't really catch him. But I'm like, I got this dude made. Man, this dude's a fucking pig, man. He's the police. Excuse me. No reason to call the police a pig. He's the police. Next thing you know, man, I go to him and I introduce myself. Hey, man, my name is Turtle. Oh, he knew exactly who I was. You know what I mean? And I'm like, yo, I can tell you a story of you and your buddy Charlie cutting off my phone because I wouldn't tell you who broke my roommate's nose. He was like, oh man, that was Charlie's choice, not mine. And I'm like, how convenient now. You're Italian. You know what I mean? I'm not in the system. Well, fuck this shit. But anyway.
Really quickly, I'm glad he said that. And that's what, so to make it clear, during incarceration, something like that is a big deal.
Yeah.
Having your phone cut off, or it's a tactic that's sometimes used. Like, what does that, in prison, is your phone like a lifeline? Is it?
Yeah.
That's kind of what I want to bring. So like, right. Okay.
So now he figured, like, because I wouldn't help him, he's gonna hit me where it hurts. You know what I mean? Because he can't physically make me tell who broke my roommate's nose, he's gonna penalize me because I didn't tell. He's gonna cut off my phone. So now I can't pick up my phone and call my wife to see how my kids is doing. I can't call out there and say, hey, I need some money.
And was she a part of your support system?
Yeah, she's my support
time?
System. So then you go fucking on my support system again,
yeah,
man.
But it's like the whole kind of trend. And it leads me up to this question. Your mom was your total support system.
Yeah.
And in some ways, at least to my thinking, that's a burden on her to have to be the total support system.
Right.
I mean, at least for me, I now understand that the hope is it's kind of spread out because we are human.
Yeah. And
humans' bodies, minds sometimes fail. And some of us die, some of us can't think straight anymore. And I see, like, for you, it took your whole support system away. And it left you kind of like wondering, when it comes to your children, how do you pass on to them that even if you weren't around, they could still continue to do good like they're doing?
See, that's one of the things. It's kind of like me watching Black Panther the other day, and when the king's son.
Is this the Marvel movie or
Marvel.
Okay.
When he went and met his father in his dream, and he was like, "Man, listen, a father who hasn't planned his son to live like without him has already failed." So every day in every June story I give to my kids, I always give them lessons of one day me not being here, because I already know what I signed up for. It could be a life sentence, it could be a death sentence. You know what I mean? Like, and I always try to give them jewels. Like, as long as they got each other, that's your support system. See, the way I was raised was my support system, and all I ever depended upon was my mother. I didn't know how to reach out to my brother or sister and have a support system because we all depended on my brother. My brother was 5 years older than me, and he was mentally challenged. My sister was a year and a half younger than me, and she was fine, but she wasn't streetwise. She was book-wise. She was in the house all the time. She was under my mother, so she depended more on my mother than anybody. And when my mother left me, it was like we all fell apart because we didn't know how to come together. We were all different walks of lives. You know what I mean? My brother being handicapped, me being like involved in so much other street and competent to do so much more, and my sister being only dependable upon her mother. She didn't know nothing else but her mother, so she didn't. You know what I mean? Like all she did was spend time in the kitchen with my mother, sewed with my mother. You know what I mean? Crochet stuff. Drove around with her, go to church with her. My sister, just wasn't. She wasn't street smart. She wasn't street savvy. So like now, when you separate all three of us and put them in three different environments, you know what I mean? My support system was the streets. I understood that already. My brother, he didn't know what a support system. He didn't know what the fuck he was doing. Like decisions and stuff had to be made for him. And my sister, she got into a situation where she was looking for that same type of love from her mother, and when she couldn't find it, things were just always hard for her. You know what I mean? She had false people in her ear with these propositions and promises that she fell for that left her in certain situations that we won't talk about. But you know, at certain things in life, man, you know, like the way I try to get installing into my kids with the support system is like, listen, man, if something happened to me, no matter if you guys got different mothers, you guys all come from me. So you guys are gonna be brothers and sisters regardless. So listen, man, if your brother ever reaches out for you, you better be there for him. You know what I mean? If your sister ever reaches out for him, you better be there for him. You know what I mean? Just the way you guys always got to stay in contact. You always got to stay communicate with each other because, you know, like, if my ship sink, then you guys are not going to have nothing. You know what I mean? Like, you guys, and one day, like, you know, if you guys all stay together, you guys you know, be pretty strong. You know what I mean? But to separate you guys are nothing. You know what I mean? So they kind of get the concept of it. They get the concept. Every chance I get, I can bring them together and be like, hey, listen, man, we are family. You know what I mean? This is it. Even if we don't do nothing else, we'll sit in the room and watch TV, play a video game, or play Monopoly or something. We're family, man. You know, you just got to have that unity. You got to have a common sense every once in a while. Just be like, yo, man, you know what I mean? This is us. This is all we got. You know what I mean? Like, we're family. If we ain't nothing else, we're family. Even if I don't have nothing to offer you, we're family. You know what I mean? And that kind of like support your sister, man, support your brother. Show some care and some love for him, man.
What is your support system for yourself like today?
My support system for myself is pretty much is if I don't do it, if I don't hustle, I don't eat. If I don't get my ass up and go to work and expect this paycheck, I'm not going to eat because I don't expect no one else to do it for me. You know what I mean? I got bills, I got to pay it. So my support system is pretty much, you know, I try to link myself with some people that's on the same page with me so that keeps me motivated to do things that I need to do, like work. Like people that raise their families, that take care of their kids, people that take on responsibilities. Now, as far as people that's just out in the street, just freelancing, not caring what happens to them or what happens to their family when they're gone, I can no longer live like that because I got too many people dependent on me. My daughter's a whole grown-ass woman who looks at me as like, who now basically can judge me and be like, yo, Dad, you know what I mean? What the fuck are you doing? Like, I got little brothers and sisters that still depend on you. And you out here in the streets doing what? I mean, Lord forbid if something happened to one of my rounds and I get put in this decision where I'm like, damn, man, I might have to flip the switch. You know what I mean? Then I'm pretty sure she can understand that. You know what I mean? Because she knows the love I have for my friends. You know what I mean? Not just for just everybody in the hood, but just for my round. She knows, you know what I mean? I can still flip that switch. I ain't perfect. You know what I mean? But as far as just getting out here doing reckless shit, you know what I mean? Because sticking my noses in places that don't belong. You know what I mean? The further I try to withdraw myself from certain people, the more assurance I have. Damn, man, at least I'm in a better place. That switch is not always easily reachable for me to switch it. Like, the more I pull away from this, the fewer people I take along with me. You know what I mean? Eventually I get myself to a spot and it's like, hey, listen, man, I got to come and tell you, like, you're my boy, man, but you're living reckless. You know what I mean? I'm only telling you this to tell you this, that, you know, if you keep doing this, I can't extend my hand to reach for that switch for you if you're going to keep doing that because I have too much to lose.
That brings up a great point. So, two things. So, I did an interview prior to this one, and the woman was telling me how she grew up not in the life, but in the neighborhood, and her father was in the life. And he always made it known, like he was wrapped up, which means he had a pistol, and he would tell dudes, look, what are you looking at? Stop looking at it. I'm going to jail. You do anything. And that was his way of protecting his daughter. And she loved that. And she's what I would look at as totally successful right now. but she understood, like we all do, support comes in many different forms, shapes, ways. When you say, I think on some levels it's different for gentlemen or women who were involved in the streets.
Mm-hmm.
What the switch you talk about, how close is it to your everyday thinking? Like, how often do you be like, should I do this or should I just walk away? Should I buy that or should I just accept I can't afford it? Like, how often are you battling with the Turtle and Charlie?
Man, Turtle versus Charles been going on for a long time. You know what I mean? Because the new Charles has a lot of patience. Now, Turtle is a motherfucker that...
so Charles is different than either
Charles,
one of them.
Charles is different than either one of them.
This is deep. I love it.
See, Charles is a person that he knows who Turtle is. And he tries to escape that every day because Turtle's just a nasty person. Not by force, but not by force, but by like through nurture. You know what I mean? You know, I started off as being a person as Charles. I grew up being Charles, and then certain activities and certain things in my life, you know, bring me to be Turtle. And Turtle came into the streets. That's why I picked up that name in the streets. Turtle's seen a lot of things. You know, some good, some bad. Gets to a point where even I believe Turtle don't even want to see the shit Turtle see no more. So Charles has been looked for a while. I've been fighting with this Turtle to become Charles because, you know, it's just Turtle don't feel like he fits into this life no more. So Charles wants to be Charles. But then every day I progress more to be Charles, I deal with to still some Turtle in me. So, you know, every day Charles mentally kills about 10 people in his head. I could be driving down the street and the asshole could just cut me off or could do some dumb shit or slow me up. And I'm like, he's dead. That's one person. I can get on the train and the person can bump me with his book bag. He's dead. That's another person. Now that's maybe 10 people a day.
Let me ask you
that's
this.
10 people. That's probably 2 people out of 10 a day that the old Turtle would have whipped out and put this gun in their fucking face.
And that's what I was going to ask.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
And you mean,
know what I mean?
And that's the difference is what I'm getting
That's
at.
the difference.
Because a lot of people mentally commit murder a lot.
Right.
But a lot of them don't have that automatic capability or that automatic life that they used to live.
Right.
A lot of people don't have the Turtle.
Right.
So to make it clear, these are steps forward in your thinking.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So, you know, becoming Charles, becoming a better person, man, it's just like this, man. You know, I know what I got to lose. And just, you know, just the ability of seeing my kids grow up itself is what I don't want to lose. Like, far as the time, fuck the time. Who did it? You know what I mean? Far as the women in jail, don't care about it. Far as the food sucking, so what? You know what I mean? I eat ramen noodles. I still eat ramen noodle soups. Like, I don't give a shit. But it's just the family and their support system and not wanting them looking for a support system because I'm not around by a choice that I made when I could have made a better choice to be there for them so they don't go looking for a support system is what I'm sacrificing. You see what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to make a decision to lose myself so that now they're fucked because of the decision I made when I could have just said, listen, man, a little bit of patience, make the right decision, it's going to be okay. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I deal with that shit so much and I just feel like that's the route that I'm going. You know what I mean? I'm trying to bury Turtle's old bad ways. And I've been successful with it. You know what I mean? I feel like I've been on the right path. I still got I've got a long road ahead of me. But the main thing is I know the choice and I know the path that's ahead of me. And I know there's gonna be bumps and there's gonna be some fucked up road work ahead of me. But just knowing what I'm facing and knowing what I'm up against.
So let me ask you this. And I plan on asking everybody that I talk to in this series about this. What does mental health mean to you? And did it play a role in your childhood on up?
Yes. Mental health means a lot to me, man, because I know personally that I have a lot of issues. A lot of them undiagnosed, a lot of them You know, I mean, I can't even put a name on some of the shit. They probably don't even have names for some of the shit I have. And some of the shit I have, they probably misdiagnose it and call it other shit. But let's just put mental health and all in one. You know, mental health is serious, not just in me, but in everybody in this community, man. Because you know, like post traumatic stress, you know, to this days, man, like I still, you know, even if I know I'm not committing a crime and I'm not dirty, if I hear sirens going off or ambulance going off, like I automatically think like, damn, like not only do I think are they coming for me, I'm like, who are they coming for? One of my homies. Then I start calling some of my friends just to hear their voice. Like it's crazy because the mental health is crazy, man, because it's taken me to places um, that was ignored for a while, so a long time. Like a lot of times, a lot of things about mental health I never even thought about. You know what I mean? I just thought it was like a fucking attitude. You know what I mean? For a person to have that fucking attitude, that's a mental illness amongst yourself that you gotta realize. Cause that brings you to a place when you just like, when you say fuck it, you mean fuck it. That means like fuck everything. You, them, the whole situation. For a person to really have in their mindset to think that they're not worth nothing, that they're willing to just throw their whole life away on 2 words, fuck it, you have to be a little bit fucked up in there because everybody's life's worth something. If you could just find out what it is, you have to do that. But for you to have that mind state just to say fuck it, then there's really got to be something going on up here that you're not dealing with to realize to think that your life is not worth nothing, that you would throw it all away as a fuck it. Fuck it means more than you think, man. Fuck it is just not worth, just a mind state. When you say fuck it, that means you're just ready to just give it all up and fuck every situation. You, the situation you're going through, the other person receiving it or giving it. It's a mind state.
And this includes your own children.
This includes your own children. Like, you're ready to just throw it all the way on a fuck it. That means that you're probably just like...
Can you have a fuck it attitude and love your kids at the same time?
I believe so. I believe anything's possible. I don't think they're going to get the best love out of you. You know what I mean? They're probably going to grow up to accept that same fucking attitude that you got. And it's probably not good, man. You know what I mean? It's probably not a good thing. It's probably more or less something that we have to... something that we have to work and diagnose in ourselves, man, because anybody with a fucking attitude can't be great. You know what I mean? It can't be great for you. It can't be great for them. It can't be great for the recipient of the fuck it, man. The mental health is just something that, man, sometimes a lot of us need counseling on it, but a lot of us it's just being open-minded and just looking to yourself and just be like, yo, man, maybe not right then and there in that situation, but maybe it's taking a step back and just like, yo, man, do I make any sense with this? Am I being fair? You know what I mean? If you was on the other end of the stick, would I want this to happen to me? Or I want someone to treat me like this? Because a lot of it's just, like a lot of it's a state of mind. A lot of mental health is a state of mind. A lot of it's illnesses. A lot of it, some of it might need medicated, some of it might need medicated. But I think a lot of mental health is a lot of stuff that we can find help through counseling. Whether it's you're talking to somebody, a counselor, someone who's licensed, or just being honest to a friend. Some people are stuck in mental illnesses because they can't accept the fact that they might be wrong or admit that they have an issue. And the first step towards help is, man, just maybe admitting like there's something wrong with me. Maybe I do need some help. Maybe I need to just be honest with somebody else who's not going to be judgmental towards
So what if I grow up in a neighborhood and in systems that come from participating in that neighborhood, and I'm taught to talk like that is a weakness and one of the worst weaknesses within itself? What would you say to what would Charlie say to Turtle to let Turtle know that it's okay to need help and to ask for it?
Personally, I don't give a fuck. What Charlie would tell Turtles, I don't give a fuck what nobody's going to say about what I think is going to help me. Like, if you're going to tell me I'm weak because Turtle's going to tell Charles he's weak because he wants to reach out for help, well, what the fuck did Turtle do for Charles for so long? He gave him that fucked up attitude that led him towards his beliefs and his moral system that cashed out nowhere, that totally just took years and years off his fucking life and some more shit. So what I think what more people need to start really doing is to stop trying to take people's words of acceptance and approval like that shit needs validation or they need that for anything, because that's bullshit. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, just do what you feel is right. Don't look for nobody's validation on that's weakness. Who the fuck are you to tell me? Like, what gave you accreditation to tell me that I'm weak? That I'm weak because I'm looking for some counsel or I'm looking for some help. Like, dude, if anything, if you were a friend of mine, you should be like, hey, man, whatever works for you, man, whatever's going to make you a better person, I agree. You know what I mean? Instead of you telling me that, oh, because you're reaching out for counseling, you a weak motherfucker. Well, damn, man, that's pretty fucked up. You know what I mean? That's pretty fucked up. Like, you know, you're supposed to be my boy. You're going to tell me that I'm weak because I'm looking for ways to better myself. Which is fucked up, man. You know what I mean? A lot of people will hold you here because they're scared to go there themselves. You know, it's all like people don't want to let you go. They'll give you bad advice because they just don't know any other advice, man. You know what I mean? They just,
So your destiny, you believe, is 100% within your control?
I believe so.
Absolutely.
I believe so. I believe every decision
absolutely.
and choice I make is a decision and choice that I make. I can't sit here and say, I blame the white man, or I blame the businessman, or I blame the rich man. Dude, listen, man, fuck that shit, man. I made my decisions. I made these decisions on my own. You know what I mean? I don't know what that is that just popped up on your shit, but
No, that's nothing.
so I just don't know. I feel like nobody controls me but me. You know what I mean? I make my decisions. I've made my decisions. I have to own my decisions. You know what I mean? If I want better results, I gotta make better decisions.
Perfect.
I
Yes.
can't sit there and blame him. I'm not even gonna go as far as and say, hey man, the system doesn't work for us. That's bullshit. Because there's ways, like we found ways to work through the system and make it work for us. You know what I mean? It might be harder, but it's damn sure nothing gonna hold me there. The only thing that can hold me back is myself, man. And that's just it. Ain't nobody gonna hold me down. Ain't nobody got what it takes to hold me back but myself. Trust me.
Well,
There's not a system in play or structure that could hold me back worse than I could hold myself back.
I appreciate this, man. That was